Listen, I know exactly what you are thinking right now. You had the whole weekend ahead of you. Saturday morning came, and you told yourself that this was it. This was the weekend you were finally going to sit down with those charts. You were going to review your trades from last week. You were going to study the patterns, look at the price action, and figure out the mistakes that ended up costing you money. But then, life just happened, didn't it? Maybe you ended up sleeping in. Maybe you convinced yourself that you deserved a break after a long week. Maybe you just felt completely overwhelmed and you didn't even know where to start. And now, here you are, it is Monday morning, and you are feeling that familiar weight sitting right in your chest. It is that quiet panic, that little voice in the back of your head whispering that you are falling behind while everyone else is out there getting ahead. I have been in that exact spot more times than I would ever care to admit. And I am going to tell you something right now that might actually surprise you. This moment right here, this very feeling you have at this moment, this is actually one of the most valuable moments in your entire trading journey. But that is only true if you understand what I'm about to share with you. Before we go any further with this, make sure you check the video description that is down below. I have put together 2 resources that are specifically designed for people who are in your exact position right now. The first one is my ebook. It is called Thinking Like Jesse Livermore, Mastering the Market with Discipline, Patience, and Risk. The second one is the Livermore Journal, which is a 90-day trading psychology workbook that is going to help you build the habits that you keep telling yourself you are going to start. The links are right there in the description. You should get them now because everything that I am about to tell you builds directly on the foundations that are laid out in those books. And listen, after you finish watching this video, I want you to do 3 things for me. First, leave a comment down below and tell me honestly what stopped you from studying this weekend. Not the excuse, but the real reason. Second, go and watch the other videos that are on this channel because I have already covered the specific techniques that you need to master. And third, share this video with another trader who needs to hear this message. Someone who is struggling just like you are right now. Because here is what I have learned in all my years of being in the market. We are all fighting the exact same battles, and we need to stop pretending like we are not. Now let us talk about what really happened this weekend. You did not fail because you lack intelligence. You did not fail because you do not care about trading. You failed because you do not yet understand the most fundamental truth about success in the market. The market does not care about your feelings, your intentions, or your excuses. The market operates on principles that are completely indifferent to human emotion. When I first started trading, I thought that success was all about being smart. I thought it was about having some special insight that other people simply did not have. I thought that if I could just figure out the secret formula, then I would never lose again. And you know what ended up happening? I lost everything. Not just once, but multiple times. I went from making millions of dollars to being completely broke. And each time, I told myself the same lies that you are probably telling yourself right now. I will study next weekend. I will be more disciplined starting Monday. This time will be different, but it never was different, not until I finally learned the lesson that I am about to share with you. The reason you did not study this weekend has nothing to do with time management. It has nothing to do with being lazy. It has everything to do with the fact that you have not yet connected the pain of staying right where you are with the pleasure of becoming who you need to be. Let me explain what I mean by that. Right now, in this moment, you feel bad about not studying. You feel guilty about it. Maybe you feel like you are letting yourself down. But that feeling is not painful enough yet. It is uncomfortable, sure, but it is not the kind of pain that actually forces change. You know what is painful enough? Losing money. Watching a trade go against you because you missed a pattern that you should have recognized. Feeling that sick sensation in your stomach when you realize that you just made the exact same mistake that you made last week. That is the kind of pain that creates real change. And here is the thing. If you do not study, if you do not prepare, if you do not do the work, that pain is coming for you. It is not a question of if, it is only a question of when. I remember a weekend back in 1906. I had just made a fortune by shorting Union Pacific right before the San Francisco earthquake. I was on top of the world. I had money, I had respect, and I had a reputation as one of the shrewdest traders on Wall Street. And that weekend, I convinced myself that I had earned a break. I did not study, I did not prepare, I just enjoyed my success. The following week, I got into a position based purely on feel, on instinct, on the confidence that came from my recent wins. And I lost more money in 3 days than most people make in a year. Not because the market changed, not because some unexpected event occurred, but because I was not prepared. I had not done the work. I had let my recent success convince me that I was somehow beyond the need for preparation. I have made that mistake more than once in my life, and I am telling you this so that you do not have to learn it the hard way like I did. Here is what I want you to understand. The traders who win consistently, the ones who build real wealth in the market, they are not smarter than you. They are not luckier than you. They do not have some secret advantage that you do not have. What they have is a system, a routine, a set of habits that they follow religiously no matter how they feel. They study when they do not feel like studying. They prepare when they would rather relax. They do the boring, unglamorous work that nobody ever sees. And they do it because they understand something that is absolutely crucial. In trading, you are not competing against other traders. You are actually competing against your own worst impulses, your own tendency to take the easy path, your own willingness to settle for less than you are capable of achieving. So what do you do now? How do you turn this moment of regret into something that is actually productive? First, you need to stop beating yourself up. Guilt is useless. Regret is useless. The only thing that matters is what you do next. And what you do next is this. You make a decision, not a wish, not a hope, not an intention, but a real decision. You decide right now, in this moment, that you are going to become the kind of trader who does the work. Not because you feel like it, not because it is convenient, but because that is simply who you are. That is your identity now. You are a trader who prepares. You are a trader who studies. You are a trader who does whatever it takes to master this craft. Let me tell you what that looks like in a practical sense. Starting today, you are going to establish a routine. Not an ambitious, complicated routine that you will abandon in 3 days, but a simple routine that you can maintain even when you do not feel motivated. Every single day, before you even think about placing a trade, you are going to spend 30 minutes reviewing yesterday's trades, reviewing the patterns that are setting up, reviewing your mistakes and your wins. Just 30 minutes, that is all it takes. If you cannot find 30 minutes in a day, then you are not serious about trading. You might be serious about the idea of being a trader, but you are not serious about actually doing it. And the market has a way of exposing that kind of self-deception very quickly and very expensively. Here is what I did. When I finally got serious about my preparation, I started keeping a journal, not just a record of my trades, but a record of my thinking. Why did I enter this position? What was I seeing that made me believe this was the right move? What was my plan if the trade went against me? And then, after the trade closed, whether it was a winner or a loser, I would review that journal entry. I would compare what I thought was going to happen with what actually happened. And over time, I started to see patterns. Not just patterns in the market, but patterns in my own behavior. I started to see the mistakes that I made over and over again, the assumptions that cost me money, the emotional reactions that led to bad decisions. And once I could see those patterns, I could start to change them. That journal became more valuable to me than any tip, any insider information, any market analysis, because it taught me about the one variable that I could actually control, and that was myself. Now, I can already hear some of you thinking, but Jesse, I do not have time for all of this. I have a job. I have family responsibilities. I cannot spend hours every day studying the market. And you know what? You are right. You cannot. But that is not what I am asking you to do. I am asking you to be honest about what you actually want. If you want to dabble in trading, if you want to place a few trades here and there and just hope that you get lucky, then fine. You do not need to study. You do not need to prepare. Just understand that you are gambling, not trading, and the odds in gambling always favor the house. But if you want to actually make money consistently, if you want to build real wealth through trading, if you want to transform your financial life, then you need to treat this like the serious business that it is. And serious businesses require serious preparation. Think about it this way. If you were going to have surgery, would you want a surgeon who studied medicine or a surgeon who just kind of figured it out as they went along? If you were getting on an airplane, would you want a pilot who trained for hundreds of hours or a pilot who thought they could just wing it? Of course not. You would demand competence, you would demand preparation, you would demand expertise. So why would you treat your own money, your own financial future, with less respect than you would treat your health or your safety? Why would you enter the market where you are competing against professionals who have spent decades mastering their craft without doing the basic work of preparation? The answer is simple. Because you have not yet felt enough pain. You have not yet lost enough money. You have not yet experienced the gut-wrenching reality of watching your account balance shrink because you were not prepared. And here is the beautiful thing about this moment that you are in right now. You can choose a different path. You can decide that you do not need to learn every lesson the hard way. You can decide that you are going to learn from my mistakes instead of making your own. You can decide that starting today, You are going to be different. Not because you have to be, but because you choose to be. That is the power that you have. That is the opportunity that is sitting right in front of you. And what I'm about to share with you in the next part of this message is going to show you exactly how to seize that opportunity and turn it into consistent profits. But first, let me address something that I know some of you are thinking right now. You are thinking, this is all well and good, Jesse, but I have heard this before. I have made these commitments before. I have promised myself that I would change before, and it never sticks. What makes this time any different? That is a fair question. And the answer is simple. This time is different because you are going to understand the real reason that you keep failing. It is not about willpower. It is not about motivation. It is about systems. Let me explain what I mean by that. Because this is the key that unlocks everything. Every trader that I have ever known who consistently makes money has one thing in common. They have built a system that removes emotion from the equation. They do not rely on feeling motivated. They do not wait until they are inspired. They simply follow their system. And their system includes preparation as a non-negotiable component. Let me give you a concrete example from my own trading. In my early days, I would wake up and just check the market. If something looked interesting, I would jump right in. Sometimes it worked out, sometimes it did not. But there was no consistency because I was trading based on impulse, not based on preparation. After I lost my fortune the second time, I knew that something had to change. So I created a rule. I would not place a single trade until I had completed my morning preparation routine. No exceptions. Even if the market was doing something interesting, even if I was sure that I was missing an opportunity, I would not trade until I had prepared. At first, this was torture. I would see moves happening and I would think, I am missing out. I need to get in now. But I stuck to my rule. And you know what happened? My win rate started to improve, not dramatically at first, but consistently. Because when I took the time to prepare, I was seeing things that I had been missing. I was noticing patterns that I had been too rushed to recognize. I was avoiding mistakes that I had been making out of pure impulse, and over time, those small improvements compounded into significant results. That is the power of a system. It takes the decision-making out of the moment. You are not asking yourself, do I feel like studying today? You are simply following the system. And the system says, prepare first, trade second. Now let me show you what that preparation actually looks like, because I think a lot of traders overcomplicate this. They think they need to read 50 news articles and analyze 100 charts and become an expert on macroeconomics. That is not preparation. That is procrastination disguised as work. Real preparation is focused and specific. Here is what I do and what I want you to start doing today. First, I review the previous day's price action. Not every stock, not every market, just the positions that I am watching or the positions that I am in. What happened yesterday? Did price behave the way that I expected? If not, why not? What does that tell me about today? This takes maybe 10 minutes if you are focused. Second, I identify the key levels for today. Where are the support and resistance levels that matter? Where would I enter a new position? Where would I exit an existing position if I am wrong? Where would I take profits if I am right? I write these numbers down. I make them concrete because when I am in the heat of the moment, when money is on the line and emotions are running high, I need to be able to look at those numbers and follow my plan. I cannot trust my judgment in the moment. None of us can. That is not a weakness. That is just human nature. The traders who win are the ones who plan for their own emotional reactions and build systems to overcome them. Third, I review my rules. Not because I have forgotten them, but because I need to remind myself before every trading session what I have committed to do. I do not chase trades. I do not revenge trade. I do not increase my position size after a win or a loss. I follow my system. These are the rules that I have established based on years of painful experience, and I need to recite them to myself before I start trading. It is like an athlete visualizing their performance before a game. It is mental preparation. And in trading, the mental game is 90% of the battle. If you cannot control your mind, you cannot control your trades. And if you cannot control your trades, you are going to lose money. It is really that simple. This entire process from start to finish takes me about 30 to 40 minutes. That is all. Not hours, not a whole weekend, just 40 minutes a day. And that 40 minutes makes the difference between being a consistently profitable trader and being someone who is always wondering why they cannot quite seem to make it work. So when you tell yourself that you do not have time to prepare, what you are really saying is, I do not value my money enough to invest 40 minutes a day protecting it. And if that is your attitude, I can tell you exactly what is going to happen. You are going to lose money. Maybe not today, maybe not this week, but eventually the market is going to expose your lack of preparation, and it is going to be expensive. Let me tell you about a trader that I knew years ago. Brilliant guy, probably smarter than I ever was, could read a tape faster than anyone I had ever seen. He had an intuitive feel for the market that was genuinely impressive, but he had one fatal flaw. He thought that his natural talent was enough. He did not prepare. He did not keep a journal. He did not review his trades. He just relied on his instincts. And for a while it worked. He made money. He got confident. He started taking bigger positions. And then one day, the market changed. The patterns that he had been relying on just stopped working. And because he had not been preparing, because he had not been studying, he did not recognize what was happening until it was too late. He lost everything. Not because he was not smart enough, but because he thought he was above the basic work of preparation. I do not want that to be your story. I do not want you to be the trader who looks back 5 years from now and thinks, if only I had taken this seriously when I had the chance. Because here is the truth. You do have the chance right now, today, this very moment. You can decide right now that you are going to be different. You can decide that you are going to build the habits that successful traders have. You can decide that you are going to do the boring, unglamorous work that nobody sees. And if you make that decision, if you truly commit to it, I promise you that 6 months from now, a year from now, you are going to look back on this moment as the turning point, the moment when everything changed. But you have to actually do it. You cannot just think about doing it. You cannot just intend to do it. You have to actually sit down, open your journal, look at your charts, and do the work today. Not tomorrow, not next weekend, today. Because every day that you delay is another day that you are trading at a disadvantage. Every day that you do not prepare is another day that you are giving money away to traders who did prepare. And the market does not care about your potential. It does not care about what you could do if you just got serious. It only cares about what you actually do. And what you actually do is reflected in your account balance. That is the only scoreboard that matters. That is the only measure of whether you are actually improving or just telling yourself comfortable lies. So here's what I want you to do right now. Before you move on to the next video, before you scroll to the next piece of content, before you let this moment pass without taking action, I want you to commit to 1 week, just 1 week. For the next 7 days, before you place a single trade, you are going to spend 30 minutes preparing. You are going to review the previous day. You are going to identify your key levels. You are going to recite your rules, and you are going to keep a journal of every trade that you make, why you entered, what you were thinking, how you felt. And then at the end of the week, you are going to review that journal and see what patterns emerge. I am not asking you to commit to this for the rest of your life. I am asking you to commit to 1 week, just 7 days. If you cannot do that, if you are not willing to invest 7 days in your own financial future, then you need to seriously ask yourself if trading is right for you. And while you are doing that, make sure you grab those 2 ebooks that I mentioned at the beginning. Thinking Like Jesse Livermore, Mastering the Market with Discipline, Patience, and Risk will give you the mindset foundation that you need. The Livermore Journal, a 90-day trading psychology workbook, will give you the structure to implement what you are learning. These are not just theory, they are practical tools based on everything that I learned, often the hard way, over decades in the market. The links are in the description. Get them now, use them, and then tell me in the comments how they helped you. Tell me about the breakthrough that you had. Tell me about the mistake that you avoided because you were prepared. I want to hear your success stories because that is what this is all about. Not me just talking at you, but all of us learning together, getting better together, succeeding together. Now let me share with you the deeper truth about why preparation matters so much. It is not just about avoiding mistakes, although that is certainly important. It is about building confidence, real confidence. Not the false confidence that comes from a few lucky wins. Not the arrogance that comes from thinking you are smarter than the market, but the deep, unshakable confidence that comes from knowing that you have done the work. When you have prepared properly, when you have done your analysis, when you have identified your levels and made your plan, you can enter a trade with conviction. You are not hoping that it works out. You are not crossing your fingers. You are executing a plan based on solid preparation. And when the trade moves against you, which it inevitably will sometimes, you do not panic. You do not freeze. You do not make emotional decisions. You simply execute the exit plan that you made when you were thinking clearly, before money was on the line. This is what separates professional traders from amateurs. Amateurs trade based on how they feel in the moment. Professionals trade based on plans that they made when they were calm and rational. Amateurs react. Professionals execute. Amateurs hope. Professionals prepare. And the difference in results is absolutely staggering. I have seen traders with average intelligence and modest capital build significant wealth because they were disciplined about preparation. And I have seen brilliant traders with substantial capital lose everything because they thought they could skip the basics. The market does not care about your IQ. It does not care about your education or your background or your potential. It only cares about whether you are prepared for what it is about to throw at you. And here is something else that I want you to understand. Preparation is not just about the technical aspects of trading. It is not just about reading charts and identifying patterns. It is about preparing yourself mentally and emotionally for the reality of putting your money at risk. Every trade that you make involves uncertainty. Every position that you take could go against you. And if you are not mentally prepared for that reality, if you have not thought through how you will respond when things do not go according to plan, you are going to make mistakes. You are going to panic. You are going to do exactly the wrong thing at exactly the wrong time. I have done it. Every trader that I have ever known has done it. The question is, are you going to learn from the market or are you going to keep falling victim to it? The market is waiting and it has infinite patience. It will be there tomorrow and the day after and the day after that. But here is what you need to understand. Every day that you show up unprepared, you are not just risking money. You are reinforcing a habit. You are teaching yourself that preparation is optional, that the work can wait, and habits, once they are formed, are extraordinarily difficult to break. The habit of unpreparedness will follow you through your entire trading career if you let it take root now. But the opposite is equally true. Every day that you show up prepared, every day that you do the work, you are reinforcing a different habit. You are teaching yourself that you are someone who takes this seriously, someone who respects the market, someone who respects their own capital and their own time. And that identity, once it is established, becomes self-reinforcing. It becomes who you are. Let me tell you about something that happened to me in 1923. I had rebuilt my fortune after losing everything in 1907. I was trading again carefully, methodically, with a discipline that I had lacked in my earlier years. And one morning I sat down to do my preparation. And I noticed something, a pattern in cotton futures that I had seen before. Not recently, but years before. A pattern that had preceded a significant move. I recognized it because I had been keeping records, because I had been reviewing my journals, because I had been doing the work consistently for years, not just when I felt like it. And because I recognized that pattern, I was able to position myself ahead of one of the largest moves in the cotton market that year. That single trade, built on years of patient preparation, generated more profit than most traders see in a decade. And I want to be clear about something. I did not get lucky. I got prepared. There is no luck in the market for people who do the work. There is only preparation meeting opportunity, and opportunity comes to everyone. The question is whether you are ready for it when it arrives. That is what I want for you. I want you to be ready. I want you to be the trader who recognizes the opportunity that everyone else misses because they were not paying attention, because they were not prepared, because they spent the weekend doing everything except the one thing that would have made the difference. You have the ability to be that trader. I genuinely believe that. Not everyone who watches this video has what it takes to succeed in the market, but you do. I can tell by the fact that you are still here, still listening, still taking this seriously. Most people would have clicked away by now. They would have told themselves that they already know all this, or that it does not apply to them, or that they will think about it later. But you are still here. And that tells me something important about who you are. So, let me give you one final thought before we close. The most important trade that you will ever make is not in the market. It is the trade that you make with yourself. The trade where you give up the comfortable lie of "I will do it tomorrow" in exchange for the uncomfortable truth that today is all you have. The trade where you give up the false security of your excuses in exchange for the real security that comes from knowing that you have done the work. That is the trade that changes everything. That is the trade that separates the traders who make it from the ones who spend their whole lives wondering why they never quite got there. Make that trade today. Open your journal. Pull up your charts. Start your preparation routine. Do it right now before this feeling fades, before the business of the day crowds out your intentions, before you find another reason to wait. Because I can promise you this. The version of you that does the work today, that builds the habit today, that makes the trade with themselves today, that version of you is going to look back on this moment with gratitude. Not because everything became easy. It will not. The market will still test you. You will still make mistakes. There will still be difficult days and losing trades and moments when you question everything. But you will face all of that as a prepared trader, as someone who did the work, as someone who took themselves seriously when it mattered. And that makes all the difference. The description has the links. The journal is ready for your first entry. The only thing missing is you. Let us get to work.